What is going on, guys? We're back with another episode of Tightline TV, and I hope y'all are having a great day. If you guys are new here, smash that subscribe button, and we're gonna get on with the show. So today I want to talk to you guys about fishing line. If you guys are bass fishermen, you may already know this. If you don't, if you do any other kind of fishing, this is still gonna help you out. There's three types of fishing line I really want to target today. And the reason that I'm choosing to do this is because I believe fishing line is one of the things in fishing that people overlook, especially if you're not at that intermediate level or that expert level of fishing. So a lot of people don't know the difference between the types of the lines that they have on the market. A lot of people don't understand what they get used for or why you should buy them and why the prices are what they are. So I basically, when I got into it, I didn't really know at first either, and I had to do a ton of research to figure it out. But once I did that research, it opened so many doors for me that it was just like, wow. So we're gonna get right into it, and hopefully this helps you guys out or maybe clarifies something you didn't know. All right, so right off the bat, I'm gonna start with the number one, probably most known and most used line there is on the market, and that is monofilament. If you go buy a rod that comes pre-spooled with line, 99.99% of the time it's going to be spooled with monofilament. Monofilament's cheaper, and it's pretty much the most standard fishing line that they put in most rods. One of the most known things about monofilament that you may not know, but most fishermen know, is monofilament floats. This is probably the main reason that they spool them in pre-spooled rods, is because when you're just getting into fishing, most people fish with a worm, a hook, and a bobber. Why does floating line help with that? Well, because you're essentially fishing on top of the water. What they are gearing for is that when you're fishing with a bobber, you don't want your access line sinking. You want your access line staying where that bobber's at. So that's probably the main reason that achieve, and because more or less because it's inexpensive. So when do I fish mono? When's a good time to fish mono? Me personally, I like to fish monofilament when I am fishing topwater. Not just any topwater, but clear in open water. I'm gonna say open water topwater. So when you're fishing like spooks and buzz baits and things like that, baits that are staying on top of the water, that you're not ripping through a ton of weeds, is my go-to with monofilament. Why monofilament? Two reasons. One, like I've said a bajillion times, is it floats, and the second reason is monofilament has a little bit of a stretch to it. It's a little bit more, giving. It has a little more give to it. So when you're fishing a topwater bait, it allows you to give a little bit of time for that hook set, and not as harsh of a hook set when it comes to fishing those topwater baits when you get bit up. So that's what I got to say about monofilament. And then moving on from monofilament, we go to something somewhat similar, but it's not at all the same thing. So you have fluorocarbon. Okay, so fluorocarbon looks very similar to monofilament, and a lot of people look at monofilament and fluorocarbon and think, okay, what's the difference? Why is fluorocarbon so much more expensive than monofilament? And for a while, I probably thought the same thing before I got into bass fishing. And the reason being is it's used totally different. So unlike mono, fluorocarbon sinks. So right off the bat, yeah, they look similar, but this line sinks. Another thing fluorocarbon has that monofilament doesn't is monofilament is a little bit more stretchy. Fluorocarbon, it still has give to it, but the purpose of it is to have more sensitivity and less give when it comes to, fishing baits. Fluorocarbon, one, it sinks. Two, it's supposed to be more sensitive, and three, it's supposed to be less. I want to say the word's abrasive, but I'm just going to use stretch. I don't really know the word correctly, my bad. So when is it a good time to use fluorocarbon? How much of it should I use, and to what extent should I use it? I use fluorocarbon when I'm crankbait fishing, finesse fishing, and pretty much that's all I use it for. And you're going to ask, okay, well, what difference do you have using this than monofilament? Right off the bat, like I said, it sinks. So when you guys are using specific crankbaits that are made to dive a specific depth, this is where it comes in handy. If you guys are using a floating line, you're really not going to be able to achieve that full depth out of that crankbait as you would using a sinking line. And then when I'm fishing, cover with jigs and stuff like that, it allows you to have just a little bit more sensitivity, and it's supposed to be less visible. So I also left that out. So when it comes to those things, it's in handy. Now, when I'm fishing jigs and stuff, I like to fish fluorocarbon when I'm fishing open areas. You know, when I'm fishing cover that's not heavily, you know, rigid or anything like that. When you're fishing a pretty clean bottom or you're fishing around rocks, you know, things like that. When I'm fishing heavy cover and weeds and stuff like that, fluorocarbon is not the way to go. If you guys are pitching, you know, jigs and stuff like that where you've got to rip a fish through heavy cover, bad move, bad move, bad move. So when it comes to just, you know, a little bit more finesse, sensitivity, crankbaits and things like that, fluorocarbon's your way to go. And, you know, that's about it. And moving on to the last and final one that I wanted to talk to you guys about, that is braid. So this is a giant spool. I have a braid. But what is the purpose of this? Why would you use this over these other two? So like I said, they all have different reasons, and a lot of people probably don't understand that. And I do get a lot, you know, oh my gosh, why are you using this green rope line? Like a lot of people ask me all the time, like, don't the fish see that? And things like that. Why do you want to use braid? So right off the bat, I go to braid for pretty much one thing in specific, and that is when I am doing my heavy duty fishing. And if you guys are fishing tons of cover, tons of weeds, frogs, any bait that's going to add weight, you know, to just anything that's really going to add, you know, or put your rod to work, you're going to need something to back it up. So like, you guys are fishing cover, right? You're throwing a frog over a huge weed patch or in lily pads, and a fish blows up on that frog and yanks it under. You really need a line to rely on. You know, you really need a heavy duty line to be able to get that fish out of there. You know, why braid though? Why can't you just use like a heavy duty monofilament or fluorocarbon? It is the strongest thing you're gonna get in a small diameter. So unlike fluorocarbon and you know, monofilament, you're gonna be able to fit a lot more in your spool for, you know, does that make any sense? I'm trying to think how I'm gonna say this. Basically, yeah, you're just gonna be able to fit a lot more in your spool. So the amount of 20-pound braid you'd be able to fit in a reel would be equivalent to fitting like 8-pound monofilament. So you have a lot of advantages there, and you're getting, you know, the same exact strength out of it. When you're fishing frogs and stuff like that, I like to fish a heavy-duty braid, like 40 to 60 pound, and you know, because I know I'm gonna be able to get that fish off of that cover or out of those weeds without it breaking off. That's me comparing these lines a little bit. I'm gonna do these videos more often. I'm sure they'll get better. I don't know if that was the greatest thing, but it's been snowing. You know, there's not much I can do, honestly. I mean, I can't really go fishing, and if the ice freezes over enough, hopefully we can get out and go ice fishing. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Tightline TV. Smash that subscribe button. We got giveaways coming up at 500 subscribers. We're making way. I'm like so out of it because I'm so sick, but hope you guys have a great night. Thank you for watching. We'll see you later. I spilled coffee on me. This is my life. Ay, ay, ay.